Winter is coming! Dun dun dun!
Hey! Jasmine! Oh!
Hey guys, Michael here from FatToFit, and I'm here with Jasmine, who is trying to give kisses now at an inappropriate moment. Not now. Oh yeah. So in today's episode of Real Talk, I thought I would talk about a few different types of dieting and my experiences with them. So I'm not going to be talking about the dieting I did when I was first losing weight. So that was basically just the 500 calorie deficit that I've talked about in my videos in the past. But today I wanted... Butch! Sorry, scratching on the door. But today I wanted to talk about the more recent dieting I've kind of done, the methods I've implemented, and they were last year when I tried intermittent fasting, and most recently my experiences with carb cycling. So let's get started. Intermittent fasting, when last year, towards the end of the year, my weight loss had completely stalled. No matter what I did, I could not lose weight, but now looking back, it was kind of, I was getting a bit out of hand with my tracking. I think was the main reason. I wasn't tracking everything, which is what I kind of do more so now. But when I got to that point, I was talking to a friend and he suggested I try intermittent fasting. And for those who don't know what intermittent fasting is, it's basically when you eat all your calories in an 8-hour window, or you can have whatever window you want. For me, I did 8 hours. And then for the other 16 hours, you don't eat anything at all. And pretty much how I did it was I would eat between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and then for the rest of the night and morning, I would not eat anything at all, just in that 8-hour window. And so your calories, you still ate at in a calorie deficit because I was losing weight. So I still ate in a deficit, but the only difference was the time window in which I was eating those calories. And the whole idea behind it is if you eat only in those 8 hours, those other 16 hours, your body's efficiency at burning fat should be increased, and there's a whole lot of scientifics about it that I could get into, but I won't for the purposes of this video. So I tried intermittent fasting. In the first week, it's really hard to do because I'm one of those people who have to eat regularly throughout the morning, day and night. I found it really hard to restrict to a certain window, but after that first week it kind of gets easier and you get used to it, I suppose. And my experience with it, I do think it worked in terms of fat loss, because as soon as I went on intermittent fasting, my weight started dropping straight away, like almost immediately, and it kept dropping every week, even though I had stalled before I started intermittent fasting. But just by the end of it, I finished the fasting when I started my bulk at the start of the year, and I don't think it's something I would probably do again. It's just, I'm one of those people who most people don't like going to bed hungry, and I find that's what would happen with the fasting, because I'd eat between 10 and 6, and then when I'd go to bed around 11, 12 o'clock, I'd be starving, and I absolutely hated that. And I did try to combat that with things like tea with no calories in it or anything like that, because you can still have liquids as long as it's practically 0 calories. So I kind of used hot tea for that, and with some artificial sweeteners, and that kind of worked a bit. But it's just that those hunger pains right before bed, they were so bad, they were terrible. I hated them, and so I don't think it would. They say if that happens, you move your eating window up. Like I could have moved it up between 12 and 8 or 2 and 10 or something like that. But I have to have breakfast in the morning. I'm a breakfast person, and because I was at university for the start of it anyway, I needed to have breakfast because You need food for your brain to function, obviously. Well, I do anyway, so that was kind of my experience with that. I don't know, maybe I'll try it again in the future, but that's pretty much how that went. If I'd recommend trying it, if you want to give it a try, there's no harm in trying it, but just remember that first week is the very hardest. Okay, so now to a more recent type of dieting I've done, carb cycling. So basically, for those who haven't seen my other videos, carb cycling is when you're in a calorie deficit, so you keep dropping your calories like you would on a normal diet, but you pretty much keep your protein constant. Your fats are mostly constant, might drop a bit over the 3 months that I did it, and pretty much your carbs are what drop. So I started off, when I'm not dieting, a cup 200 to 300 carbs, maybe closer to 2 than 3, and then by the end of my 12 weeks, I was on 35 carbs, which is pretty low. And so basically you're dropping your carbs throughout the cut, and then once or twice a week you have a refeed where you pretty much stay the same amount of calories in that deficit, but you drop your fats and you up your carbs to make up for it, and it kind of boosts your hormone levels to help you burn more fat. So that's basically what carb cycling is, just manipulating your carbs. And what I did find, it did really work for me. I lost pretty much most of my fat. I got down to 10% body fat, like I've shown you in one of my videos. And so I think it really did work for me, and it was kind of, it didn't really get as bad until the last few weeks with the carbs in terms of my energy levels. Those last few workouts were terrible. I was so tired, no energy at all, but it did work really well for fat loss. I'm going to get a bit technical here, but stuff I've learned at uni, over the past few decades, studies have been showing that it's not the amount of calories that you kind of consume that is the most important factor in dieting, but it is the type of calories as well. So the studies have kind of shown, I don't have any examples, but I'm sure you could find them out there if you Google them, but studies have shown that lower carb diets have more beneficial effects than lower fat diets, and that's becoming more and more pronounced as more research is done. And some people don't swear by one kind of diet, some people don't do any kind of dieting at all, they just drop their calories or whatever like that. But carb cycling did work for me, and the only way you can know if it works for you is to try it. And the only thing, on carb cycling, weight loss in the first few weeks is dramatic because you're dropping the water weight. Because of course, when you lower your carbs, that means your body's going to be retaining less water, and also as you go along the cut, you'll also be losing weight, but it might not necessarily be fat. It can also be water weight, and it can be your glycogen stores. So the energy that's stored in your muscle depletes as you use it throughout the cut because you're not taking in as many carbs. So that takes up a certain amount of weight in your body too. But by the end, I was happy with how I looked. The only thing is, after you stop carb cycling and start upping your carbs, that water weight gain is dramatic. I gained 10 to 15 pounds in the past few weeks just from water weight after upping my carbs. And I know it's water weight, it's not fat, and at first it was hard for me to accept that, but now as time has passed over the past few weeks, I've understood it more. I already knew that it would happen, but it's hard. It's different when you know it's going to happen and then when you see it happening. But I still think carb cycling was a pretty good way of dieting. I don't know what I'll try next time. I don't know if I'll try one of the things I've already done. I'll just have to see, but that's over a year away, or around a year away, so don't have to worry about that yet. Anyway, I think that's going to conclude this episode of Real Talk. I don't want it to go for any longer. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. Comment down below if you have anything to say about this topic, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you later, guys. And Jasmine says bye too.